Okay. So I said it the other night. Yeah, I said it the other night, and I'm going to say it again because even since the other night, I've still run into quite a few people where it mentions so many times in the Bible where it talks about cry unto the Lord, cry out to him, or they cried out unto the Lord. But not only after we cry out to him, God answers us. He answers those who fear him, those who trust him. A lot of people don't know, just cry out to God. So when we share that, you called on the Lord instead of trying to fix it? Cry out to God, call on God. Yeah, we look stupid, we would look real crazy, hollering, Jesus, Jesus, help me. But he said it's the foolish things that he
Oh,
uses to confound the wise. So I'm willing to be foolish if I know when I cry out to him, he answers me. So that just kind of stuck out with me.
that's good. That's good. And
Amen. Amen. One of the things that stood out to me, and it's so funny because this is the exact same thing that Kenya, you put on those little cards, or whoever did those little cards, because I highlighted this. I thank God for technology. I use the Kindle app. That way I can just highlight all these sections in the book, and then I can have them all right there together. But there was the one statement in the book from chapter 8, and it just talks about exactly what you're talking about, Sandra, that when you or I tap into God's power, basically when we call on him, we access the authority that spoke the world into existence, parted the sea from the land, created life itself, and raised the dead. That is true power. Everybody wants to look around, and you think about, all the power plays that happen. We see it in politics. We see it in, our workplaces. Sometimes you see it in the family. It's all about, it's not the issue, it who has power and control of the issue. But the thing is, God is the one who has the true power. And then it goes on, it says, that is what is available to you and to me through the understanding and application of this method of communicating called prayer. It's not that we got to try to figure it out, we got to try to work it out, but all we got to do is pray it out. And then you can tap into that power. When you align with God's will, when he talks about nothing will be impossible, the things that we think there's no way, we can't figure it out in our own logic. That's what God specializes in. And it's like, and I thank God that it just gives me kind of a refreshing. Because, like when you've been saved in church for a while, sometimes it's like, okay, okay, okay. But to just be able to be refreshed at the thought of, I can talk to and I can go before the creator of all. And he thinks enough of me to listen. I am so humbled and I am just so in awe. And so that just, I love that it just spoke and it refreshed me to know that I can go to my Father in prayer. And it's like I'm at a loss for words. It is absolutely amazing, and I just thank him for it.
thank you, Michael. That was so good. That was good. Anybody else? Because I
Uh,
can pick back up everybody. Go ahead. Go ahead, Danielle.
yes. When in chapter 7, when it talks about um just having help on your spiritual journey, like people have gone through a lot that you've been like similar things that you're going through now. And sometimes when we ask for help, it's like more of coming from a pride
Yeah.
issue than just getting to just accept the help, knowing like you just need a guidance. Something I struggle with too. Is like I started to like just try to do stuff on my own, and then I wouldn't ask for help. Like I always go to my parents and ask for help, but it's like my parents sometimes haven't been through things that I've went through, such as co-parenting. They've been married for like 20 something years. So it's like they only can give me the best advice they know how, but they never been through it. Like little things that I was going through while I was in school, they couldn't really speak on it because none of them had a college background. So it's like, when you walk in your journey, yes, it's your journey, but sometimes, you do feel alone. You do feel like someone doesn't care, but it's like, you don't have to go through that alone. You have it highlighted on your page, and I also have it highlighted on my page as well, is that, sometimes you do need to piggyback off of somebody's faith,
Yeah.
and just to just build yours back up.
That's good. I was at Mama Rita Church last Sunday, and interestingly enough, they was talking about control. And we was talking about why do people always just want to control, and they brought up pride and things like that, lack of trust. And then I kind of spoke on, sometimes control, you have to get to the root of a situation. Like something triggered you into wanting to be in control. And y'all ladies know, my leadership team, I love y'all so much. I really appreciate y'all. Like I said, y'all be breaking me down in a good way, just to release. So growing up, I was the older sister. I'm not the oldest. I was the older sister to my older sister. I was the parents to my siblings. I was the parent to my parents. I was the financial support for my parents. I didn't understand why my mom stayed with my dad, because it's like, it was constantly like a money thing. But even when he wouldn't give her money, it'll be me. I would pull doubles at Chick-fil-A just to give my paycheck to my mama. When I went to basic training, they called me for money. All my money is going to them while I'm in basic training. When I got to AIT, which is basically where you go after basic training to get job training for your military job, I was sending all my money home. When I got back home, I'm thinking I'm sending the money, of course, to help my parents, but also to pay my car note. My car was repoed when I got home. I did not have a car when I came back home. And in my mind, I was like, how the heck am I giving out all this money? Like, what's going on? Lights still being cut off, things like that. That situation for me, I didn't really get to enjoy my childhood. I was always, where my siblings at? Where Monique at? Where the twins at? Doing something they ain't supposed to do. I'm trying to talk to them like, y'all stressing mom out, this, and this. I did not get to enjoy my childhood, y'all. So with all of that on me, I was like, I can't trust nobody. I can't. I'm always the doer. I have to do for everybody else. And so I kind of picked up that I can't trust people, to where if I can't trust them, I'm going to just do it myself. And so that's why it's hard for me to let go sometimes, because I don't know you. I don't know how you're going to do stuff, but sometimes you have to learn people. Some people will fail you. That's okay. It's a learning thing. But one thing God has shown me, you cannot do it all. You're going to get tired. I didn't call you to do it all. That's why I called you to be in relationship with people. And going back into the spiritual aspect of it, we get tired, but I thank God that he created us. He created us for relationship. No matter how introverted we may want to be, introverts got their friends too. And so even Kenya gets tired spiritually, and I get depleted, and I can text my sisters or my sister in Christ and say, hey, can you pray for me? Can you uplift me? Because I think at the start of my relationship with God, I was like, I can't be weak. And then people always, tell me, oh my gosh, you're so mature. Why you so wise? Blah, blah, blah. So I think, I have to stay that way. I have to keep appearing like I can pray 24/7. I don't get tired, blah, blah, blah. And when I tell you, you ladies, y'all let me know it's okay. And then that's why I have this portion highlighted in my book that says sometimes you're going to have to piggyback off other people's faith. Not saying you can't pray for yourself, but sometimes you get to a point, like Miss Nicole said, you just be doing church and you need that refreshing. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt that one time. I was just like, I don't feel this. Like, I was up there really doubting God, not believing, like, God, you is not about to come through. But then putting on this act in church, like, girl, speaking a good word to everybody else, knowing dang well you was just up there doubting God, but you can't tell nobody you're going through this, because now you look like a failure. Now you don't look like that strong Christian everybody called you to be. God ain't called us to look like that. And he called us to lean on him and lean on the community that he's given us. And so for me, I had to get to the root of it, and it was trauma. It created a form of trauma in me, because to be a parent to your parent, to try to talk to your mom to forgive your dad, and even to this day, giving my mom marital advice. You know, in this season of my life right now, sometimes I have those thoughts like I should not be doing this. But if God put an assignment on your life, do it and do it gladly. But still utilize the people in your life when you get tired, and trust. And so I'm opening myself up to trust. And if somebody fails me, it's okay. They're human. I'm human too. I have to give myself room to fail. And so that's really why I highlighted this portion. And even just thinking back how the Marine ran with the little boy, he didn't even know them, but I kind of looked at it like this. The little boy saw the uniform. Of course, Marines are held to a high standard. And even in the Army, you never leave a man behind, but he trusted him enough to reach out. He didn't even know him. But I think it was the appearance in the uniform was like, hey, I want to reach out for help. Can you help me? And the Marine gladly helped. And then the two runners, the girl fell, she carried her. Like, complete strangers, y'all, but in the body of Christ, y'all know how powerful. We ain't even strangers. Since you fall, I got you. I don't care. We finishing this race together. And I was talking too much. All right, y'all. I'm done. I'm done. Somebody else can chime in. Any thoughts? Feel free to share. We could talk about something else, or I can ask my questions.
I think you're in a good place right there when you talk about control. That makes me get so quiet because that controlling spirit can also be it can be open, it can be wide open, it can be real, whatever, but it could also be very subtle because I've always prayed against the spirit of control in my family, not me now. Now, I decided I don't have a spirit of control. I pray for it off my family. Until one day, God told me, no, you have a spirit of control also. And my reason was my upbringing was I was the fifth of five children. So I just kind of didn't get a lot of the nurturing from my mom, didn't get a lot of the whatever. And I've always done things growing up to try to be pleasing to my older siblings or to my mom. Until I got older, I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I've got to do it myself. I've got to do it my way. I've got to do it my I. And to God dealt with me that, with that. So after I released that, had to be delivered from that spirit of control. Now I'm at a point now where, and like you said earlier, Kenya, you always feel like you got to be the strong one. You got to do this here. You can't cry. Well, everybody knows me, know I'm the biggest crybaby, but I still got to be the strong one. I don't have to anymore. And that's, that controlling spirit is a sneaky spirit. But once you see it and, get exposed, God, I thank you. I am where I am now. I'm free. I can cry. I can call somebody to help me. I can't do it all. Thank God, because I'm tired of trying.
Yeah, that's good. Ooh, that's good. I like that you said it's sneaky because it is. It really is. But I ain't gonna lie, I be sitting up here and be like, if I could just get this out the way, if I could get, and you can have good intentions. Like your intentions will be good for you, but it can be detrimental to you as well. The more you pick up or the more you feel like you have to be in control. But then when things fail, you can't handle it because it didn't go how you wanted it to go. Man, but I just thank God that he makes us all different and has gifted us with what we need so we can just glean from each other. Man, I need y'all. I need y'all. Y'all can't go nowhere. No. Mm-mm.
Me too.
Man, that was good. Thank you, Miss Sandra.
Kenya, I'm trying to find this mute button because I keep flipping back and forth between all my different stuff. I'm like, Lord, help me. But when you talk about that, it took me back to another thing that I highlighted in the book. And it's talking about, that, and we touched on this at our in-person meeting, is, one of the enemy's primary weapons is disunity, because he knows that there is that power when we can lean on each other and when we can come together. And the thing is in the book, it talks about that one of the keys to assessing heavenly authority is being in sync spiritually, but yet to become in sync requires a level of mutual humility. That means you have to be able to recognize I don't have control. Yes, sometimes I will fail. And I think that sometimes that God allows those things to happen so that you can realize your humility. I know for me that that is one of the items of my testimony that brought me to God, was a very humbling point in my life. I was I had graduated from college. This was before I was saved. I was engaged to my high school boyfriend. This is the boy that I had, been with since I was 16 years old. And we were engaged, but God was calling me. And I had met a lady at the job where I worked, and she invited me to church. And even though I had always believed in God, I did not necessarily have that personal relationship with God. And so he just really, really began to work on me. And I got to the point, because I was living with my fiance. And I was like, you know what? We can't do this. We cannot live together. This is not right. But there was always a reason he wasn't ready to get married. It was always something. And we were in Texas at the time. And both of our families are here in Memphis. And so it was when I had decided, no, we're going to have to, move separately. I had secured, a lease on my own apartment. I had gone and gotten baptized. And since we all grown, you had that last time, that last time, even though I was on the pill, I got pregnant with my daughter. And I was devastated, because that was not supposed to happen to somebody like me. I was educated. I knew better. I knew what I needed to be doing. I was not supposed to be that statistic. I was not supposed to be the one who failed in front of all of these, my white male peers, old men, to judge me as, yeah, that's just another little black girl that got pregnant. God had to humble me to make me realize my dependence on him. And so God will use those seasons to bring you close to him, because that is when you can submit and you learn of the love of God for who you are, where you are, that no matter what you've done, that there is not anything that he can't redeem. And I thank God. It may not have been the way I wanted it to be, but I thank God that he thought enough of me to allow me to go through that, to be that single parent. Because it was when my daughter was 6 months old that that boy, who I had been with since I was 16, and here I am 25, decided he just didn't want to get married, and he moved back to Memphis. I was by myself. I didn't have any family, but guess what? I had my church family, and I had my God. And so even though here I was, a single parent, God helped me. God took care of us. Yes, I eventually was able to marry, but if it had not been for me going through that time, I don't think that I would be able to know the power of God in those dark places. I would not know that God can hold you when it ain't nobody else there. I didn't mean to go this deep, but I thank God for the ability to be humble, the ability to submit to his will, and the ability to be there for my sisters, to let them know if God did it for me, he can do it for you too.
Amen. Ooh, that's good. Miss Nicole, you good. Go deep, sis. Shoot. Go deep. That's amazing. Ooh, I'm sitting with this, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sitting with it. I'm sitting with it. He's so good. Man. Hmm. That was so good, Miss Nicole. I love that. I love that. And how you use humility, how he uses it, because he cares for us. Man. even in our darkest moments. Ooh, he's so good. Anybody else? Something that stood out to you, want to share, piggyback off that? Ooh, feel free to do so. Yeah. All right, ladies. I do have a question. Somebody want to say something? Go ahead.
What I liked about in chapter 7, when he talks about basically the agreement, the coming together as a person who was often outcast as a child, I never fit into the box. I never was a part of the in crowd. So I found myself, by myself. And that is actually, though, I couldn't understand it when I was going through it. But as I began to mature, then I realized that it was not that I didn't fit into well, true enough, I didn't fit into the crowd because I was different and I was chosen to be different. Even in my own family, guys, me and my children, we don't fit the mold. Okay. We just don't fit. We do things totally different. When taking my children to the doctor at an early age, the kids played with their toys. My kids were reading books, and we didn't, interact and indulge in certain things. And God had to tell me that it's not that you don't, that they don't want to be with you. It's because you are different. And when you come into knowing someone who is like-minded with you, then it is so refreshing, because I wouldn't say that they're not on your, others are not on your level. They just don't understand. So it's not that, I'm not good enough to be with, I wasn't growing up. I wasn't cool enough to be with the black kids, and I was a little bit too nerdy to be with the white kids. So, I just was kind of, I had my own spot. And what I did learn, though, is me being me and me being who I was, then I soon found out that there was others that actually gravitated to me. So I was like, wow. So that is one of the things why I have a very strong desire for inclusion. I want everybody to be a part of, what's going on. I don't want anybody to feel isolated or by themselves. I want everybody who expresses an interest to be a part of it. So that's why, Kenya, I asked you, I said, did you hook in, did you add Casey? Because I want to make sure that, she's a part of it. She doesn't, she may not be as, vocal as I am, but I just, I got to make sure my sister included. So, I mean, inclusion is very important, to me. And that's because, I just want to make sure we all in this together. And that's why, when in agreement, there's basically, there's strength in numbers. So so when we, like I said, it excites me that when we have someone who pray, who needs prayer, how we band together, how, we come, when I kid you not, I said, I'm working, but when my phone beeps, I got to scroll to make sure it's not somebody who needs, so who needs prayer. And if it is, I promise you, I'm finna stop, because it's like, I gotta stop for a minute. This report gonna wait, because I've got a sister who needs my help, and it's just so enlightening and enriching for us, to be able to come together and to pray for whomever. And then too, what really, really, is so gratifying is when God hears and delivers and answers those prayers. So it's kind of like a parent, with a child. You got one, child who says, Mama, you said we could go to the movies. But when you got all of your children asking you for the same thing, then it's like, oh, let me go and take these kids to the, to the movies. Because it just reminds, the fact that we're able to remind God in our different ways, in our different, avenues, then it's just so enlightening, because we all singing the same song. We may be saying it in, in a different form, well, Nicole singing alto and Sandra singing soprano. I'm over here tenor, but we all singing the same song, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Awesome.
I'm done.
I love that, Miss Gray. I love how you said it. I am in the same as you. So when I was in high school, I don't do cliques. I really hate that clicky stuff. It really like boils my skin because you make people not feel included. Now that is not to say that include everybody that they supposed to be included, because some people you can't connect with. That's just on that. But when I was in high school, I would always, talk to everybody. Weird kids. I didn't care. Not talk to everybody. I was an introvert, but if I saw you by yourself, I will go to you. Hey, what's up? I didn't want people to feel left out. And interestingly enough, my senior year, I somehow got put on homecoming court. And that was because of how many people I connected with. When my name was, I'm talking about, I didn't run. They passed out the ballots in class and my name was on there. And one of the girls, I was friends with her, she was real popular. She was like, Kia, why your name on here? I was like, girl, I don't know why my name on there. She was like, did you run? I said, no, but people can put who they want. And so I got second runner up or whatever. I did not care to be on there, but it just shows the impact that I was able to have when I was in high school. But I was telling Casey this. One thing about this life group, and it's just informative. One thing about Women of Valor is there has to be an area of spiritual maturity. What Women of Valor does for Miss Grace, Miss Sandra, Miss Nicole may not work for somebody because they don't have in-depth knowledge. I'm not a preacher. I don't act like I'm one. I don't act like I know the word better than anybody. But one thing I know about Women of Valor, you have to have spiritual maturity. How we can talk about not getting offended and have conversations, that's tough for people because some people come in looking for something wrong, looking for a reason to get out. And once they find it, that's it. And so I remember I had a conversation with Casey and she was like, hey, Kenya, I know a girl, she needs Women of Valor. I was like, okay, Casey, you may think she need it, but does she want it? I said, because just because this is good for you, that doesn't mean it's going to help everybody. I said, is she spiritually mature? And Casey thought for a second. She said, you know what? I might lead her to another lady's group because I think this might be too much. And inclusion is a great thing. But one thing God showed me is you have to be careful. You can have the best intentions and you can know that this is benefiting me. So sis, I want you in this. And next thing you know, something done open up and you was not trying to open it up. And this is no shot at you, Miss Grace. This is just what I got when you was talking. Everything does not work for everybody, but that doesn't mean if somebody who's not in this group needs prayer, we ain't gonna pray for them because they're not in our group. No, we finna lift them up. I don't care if you in the group, out the group, you never heard of the group. When Ms. Melba drop a name, we praying for them. God know who Jamie is. God know that Jamie was going into surgery. We gonna lift him up. And one thing about the body of Christ, you cannot be cliquish because God is not cliquish. We are all his people. And so that's why I'm just grateful for community because when I tell y'all, Kenya was the one who tried to do life by herself. I will make every excuse not to get close to people. But again, ladies, I thank y'all. Y'all have broken so many walls down and more are still coming down. I'm not sitting up here saying I'm completely healed. More walls are coming down as I even speak about it. But I'm glad that I recognize that I cannot do life alone, that I have to be connected to the body because a finger can't do nothing without the body. The brain got to help it move. So ladies, thank y'all. And Ms. Grace, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
I got something to say.
Who's this, Miss Sheila? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's me. When I got that text about W.O.V, I'm shy. I mean, I know it might be hard to believe, but I truly am. And one thing about the Life Church, man, ever since I've been back in person, it's just been a fast track. And when I mean fast track, I mean it's just been a level of growth. Our eye-opening moments and stuff like that. But when I when I went to the first W.O.V meeting, and I'm looking at, I'm like, this girl 27, I'm old. I'm looking at, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at Brittany. Oh man, Brittany, awesome. But I'm looking around and I'm nervous and I'm shy. I'm intimidated. I'm like, I I'm looking at you. You just 27, and I'm intimidated, and I'm a little afraid. I say maybe this may be too much for me because I wasn't on that level. But I'm gonna tell you something. By the end of that meeting, after we worshiped and prayed, and Brittany came over to me and she put both of her hands on my shoulder, and she just gave me an assurance. She just, oh, you in the right place, and she was just letting me know, hey, it's a growing process, and it is a process, but it was the best decision that I ever made, to be surrounded by so many women on the same page but on different levels that always make me feel like it's room at the table. um I mean, I'm finding more about myself in this journey than I ever have. So when you speak about unity and spiritual minded likeness and all that, I was in the right place all along. Intimidation has went out the window that night. And Kenya and Nicole and Brittany, I mean, just stretching. That's all I hear is stretching, stretching, stretching. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for y'all support, your genuine kindness and love, and just that feeling of making you feel a part of the team. And it's not a team, it's, to me, I call it a squad. I mean, if y'all could hear me talk about y'all to my family, they know everybody in the group. They do, because you just on that standard with me. You just on I'm telling y'all, when I think about y'all, I see capes, I see S's on the chest. I'm talking about celebrity superstar status. That's what you all are to me. And I just love y'all. I truly do. And I thank y'all so much. That's all I got to say before I cry.
I knew you were gonna say that. Miss Sheila. Lord, I think Miss Sheila be tugging at my heart. I don't know if it's just the words, how you phrase stuff. I love you so much, Miss Sheila. I remember that first meeting, Miss Sheila. She went and sat at the table and she had a mask on. I think it was bedazzled, or either was your mask was bedazzled or your hat. I know you like them shiny hats. And I remember we introduced ourselves, and I'll never forget Miss Sheila said she like them black and white movies. And I just thought that was weird. I said, this lady be sitting up here watching black and white movies. Then I was like, I be sitting up here watching classic cartoons. I'm talking about old cartoons. I was like, you know what? I want to get to know more about Miss Sheila. And Miss Sheila, you have opened up so much. I love you so. I'm so glad. All of y'all, man, I promise we is doing some kingdom work. I like that you say we got some capes. We might go ahead and get that made. I don't know. I see though. But I love you so much, Miss Sheila. Thank you for sharing that. You are so, yes, Miss Sandra. She's so genuine. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anybody else? I'm gonna go on mute real quick because Miss Sheila be tearing me up. All right, I'm back. Anybody else, something that stood out to you in the book that you just want to share? Anything? Miss Nicole with her tissue emoji. Awesome. So I wanted to hit on, well, there's a lot I want to hit on. We have a few more minutes. Hey, no, we talked about Elijah. Okay, so going back to the area where Miss Nicole was, is 103 for me. So it was talking about Satan's primary weapon in spiritual warfare is to create this unity. And I do believe I read the book The Bait of Satan, y'all. If y'all have not read that book, The Bait of Satan, read that book. I read that book when I got offended. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see what he's doing. To be able to recognize the tricks and the attacks of the enemy is real, real key. But I just wanted to pose this question because I know offense is one of Satan's baits. And sometimes I personally believe, and I talked about this at the last meeting, I had to learn how to kind of open up my perspective. I had to stop viewing stuff one way. Because sometimes when a person offends you, it's majority of the time not about you. They be dealing with stuff. It's either a spirit operating behind them, how they perceive you to be. And so they coming at you this way because how they perceive you to be. But one thing I had to learn is just because somebody tries to offend me, I don't have to be offended. I ain't gonna lie. I got to the point I be making up stories about people. And let me give y'all an example. So when I used to be on social media, I used to post like funny stories about my day, because working at Chick-fil-A, you come in contact with real bougie customers. And so I will always make up a story as to why somebody is rude, just to help me, to help me get through my shift. So one day I was working, and I'm gonna get to my question, y'all, but I'm gonna get to my story too. One day I was working window at Chick-fil-A, and this lady came up during the breakfast hours. And every Chick-fil-A does stuff different. So I don't know if y'all know, I'm gonna just give y'all a PSA. Every Chick-fil-A is not the same. Some people will serve you lunch. Some people will serve you French fries during breakfast time. Some Chick-fil-A's will do that. Not all Chick-fil-A's. The one in Collierville did that when I worked there, but when I went to Franklin, Tennessee, they was doing straight breakfast. So the lady came through drive-through and she said, "Can I get a chicken biscuit and a small fry?" I was like, "Oh man, we are not doing breakfast right now. Breakfast starts at 10:30. She was like, "Well, the Chick-fil-A in some part of Nashville does it." And you know how you want to say, "Well, this ain't the Chick-fil-A in Nashville." I ain't say that though. I said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, this Chick-fil-A, we serve breakfast at 10:30. Well, she told me when I get to the window, y'all better have my fries. So I looked at my coworker. I talked to the kitchen. I said, "Hey, this lady wanted some fries." I didn't ring it up though. They was like, "Well, she's not getting fries. So, why you telling us?" So she got to the window. She had a chicken biscuit. She wanted a small fry and she wanted a lemonade, no ice. I will not forget this. And got to the window. I said, "Yes, ma'am, you have a chicken biscuit and a lemonade, no ice." She said, "And a fry." I said, "Ma'am, we don't do fries till 10:30. And she was like, "I want to speak to the manager." Manager came, told her the same thing or whatever. And she was just had a bad day, y'all. So we gave her food and gave her a drink. And I upsized her drink, like because of the inconvenience that she couldn't get a fry. I gave her a large lemonade just because she was mad. She snatched that drink out of my hand, didn't even notice that I gave her a large. But I was like, okay. Then she was like, "Can I get a straw?" In my mind, I'm like, "It's not a straw, it's a straw, ma'am." Inner dialogue, y'all, inner dialogue. So I gave her a straw. Of course, had to say, "Have a blessed day," hopefully to show some conviction in her heart. And she sped off or whatever. And so my manager was like, "Okay, thank you for handling the situation. You handled it so well." And he was like, "I'm really impressed. A lot of our workers will get flustered." And he was like, "How you able to handle it so well?" And I told him, I said, "Honestly, I'm gonna just assume she went through a bad breakup and she found out that news this morning." He texted her, she was happy their anniversary was coming up. And so he broke up with her and she left. And he just started laughing. But y'all, when I tell y'all, I make up some stuff in my head sometimes just to keep myself from getting offended. Sometimes you just got to do that. But anyway, I wanted to pose this question. This is my question. And where is my question? In my mail, y'all. Where is it at? Okay. Where it says that is why one of Satan's primary weapons in spiritual warfare is to create disunity. What are ways the enemy creates disunity or division? Give personal examples if you have any, or just some thoughts. So what are ways that the enemy creates disunity and division? Give a personal example if you have any.
I think just what you were saying is just the spirit of offense. And many times, people may say something or do something and they don't even realize that you have been offended. But yet we think, "Oh, they know they did that. They know they did that on purpose. He said that because of this, or he said that because of that." And just like you were making up this storyline about this woman to help you be able to relate, we'll make up storylines about the whole reason why such and such did something. And the thing, they ain't even thinking about you.
What?
They hey, they didn't look your way, or they not even,
That's so true.
you're not even on their radar. What are you talking about? But the thing is, the enemy will try to whisper these things to you, because the book, The Battlefield of the Mind. We have so many more crazy thoughts that will come through our mind that never ever come to fruition. They never ever become realized. And the thing you have to realize is sometimes those are things that are planted by the enemy because he simply wants to create that discord. He wants you to look her like she crazy, or the next time she's like, hey girl, you be like, hey, you know how we do, or at
Yep.
least how we may have used to
Yeah.
have done. But that's the thing, is it can be those little things, the little foxes, the
Yep.
little things, and we in our own mind will blow them way out of proportion. I see it happen. It's not just like in personal relationships. You can see it happen at work. Y'all know that you have probably experienced some kind of situation on your job where something just went way left, and you're like, what in the world is wrong with y'all? What,
Mhm.
you know? But that's what the enemy does, is he tries to find any little thing to get us crossways, to get us separated. And we see it happening right now, playing out in terms of just politics.
Yep.
Republicans and Democrats. Look, both of y'all really, in a lot of cases, you saying the same thing, but just because you're not in the same political party, you can't agree. It's just like,
Yeah.
it becomes mind-boggling sometimes. But the thing we have to recognize is that is what the enemy is trying to do, because he recognizes the power in unity. He
Mhm.
knows that when we come together on one accord, and especially when we align under God's will. Now, if the
Yep.
people could almost build, the Tower of Babylon up to the heavens, and God's like, ooh, I need to confuse these folks, because
Right.
now they weren't trying to be of God's will, but when you align under God's will and you can do it together, what?
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. It made me think about what you just said. I thought of another thing. So we know how we are. We know how we meant to say something. We know that's just us. And I ain't gonna lie, I had that mentality. I'm really blunt with my words, and I have a dry sense of humor sometimes. And the way I project my voice, and this was even a thing in my marriage when I would like joke with Anatole, I wouldn't like laugh after I say something. And so it can come off as an insult. And I kind of was like, dang, he's sensitive. Like, man, don't know how to joke or whatever. But he had to learn me. Not saying everybody has to learn you. Sometimes you have to adjust to not people please. But if you know a person doesn't joke like that, or, maybe they're a bit sensitive, to kind of put a guard over your mouth. Okay, I can't joke with this person like this. So, but of course that comes with learning people. And I had to learn that, because at one point I used to be, and this is what caused disunity. If they don't get me, I don't need to adjust. Like, they just not my friend, blah, blah, blah. You can still be friends with a person when you get to know them and know what they dislike and not like. Me and Brittany, I'm gonna be honest, if y'all sat in a restaurant, me and Brittany, and we talk crazy to each other, but that's our friendship. Cannot talk crazy how I talk to Miss Sandra. Miss Sandra probably be like, okay, Kenya, that's kind of too much. And so I think another thing that causes this unity is us feeling like we don't have to kind of adjust our approach for certain people. We feel like, okay, I should be able, you can be you. It's not taken away from you. You just have to learn who's in your circle, what they can handle, how you can speak to them, their mannerisms, what they find funny, what they may not find funny, what may offend them, what may not offend them. And so I think another thing that causes disunity is feeling like I don't need to adjust anything about myself for anyone to make them feel included. And like I said, I'm not talking about people pleasing, but we sometimes everybody can't get you. You know what I'm saying? And it was really hard for me, but I had to learn I can't joke with everybody the same way. I can't say some things to people the same, because they may get offended by it, even if I didn't mean it. I'll be willing to apologize because how they took it, because they just don't joke like that. But I think that's a hard thing for some people to grasp. I will be honest, it was hard for me to adjust. But then as I started getting in contact with more and more women, and that's why I told y'all in the meeting, like, oh, I kind of, can talk to Miss Charlotte. Like, Miss Charlotte knows me. Miss Sheila knows me. Now, I pray that if I ever do offend, like, let me know. Even if I didn't mean it that way, I will apologize. And I'll take note, okay, I cannot say that around my sister because that hurts her feelings. And so that's something I feel like a lot of us, we're not willing to kind of adjust based on some people we're surrounded by. So we'll just kind of kick them out like, oh, I don't care. They don't get me. I'm gonna kick them out. We're all individuals. We're all uniquely made in God. And God didn't build everybody the same. You know, some people are more empathetic. Some people are more sensitive. Some people are more sympathetic. It just depends. Learn your people. Just learn the people that you're surrounded by. So that's mine. Anybody else thoughts about how the enemy can unify us? What can he use?
I can. Miss Charlotte and I, we was when we was getting ready for, your surprise and everything, and of course she was doing the food and everything. And at that time, I didn't know Miss Charlotte, could throw down, could cater or whatever. And so she was sharing with me. I can't quite remember if it was a thought or it was a person that told her that which in other words, it caused her to second guess herself about her food. And I told her right then and there, I say, well, you know what, women can be messy. And he planted that thought in your head to second guess yourself about your food, something you have been doing for years. I mean, this is your gift. And I think a family member of hers, I'm not quite sure, or if it was just a thought that caused her to second guess herself. And I thought that was just an attack from me. And we ate that food, that punch y'all left. So,
that punch? You said a punch?
Yes, ma'am. you know, great. But it don't necessarily have to be from someone else. It could just be a thought, because I can admit, even when I bake for someone else, I'm always extra clean. I'm always extra cautious. And it is that feeling like, ooh, I want it to turn out, I have this, a little bit of pressure. But when I'm just baking for my family, I'm so relaxed and, I'm still clean, but, I'm just in my comfort zone. And I get that. But, sometimes women can be messy.
That's true.
And you get turned off, and it will cause you to second guess yourself. Because I remember I used to compliment women, and I didn't think it was the rule. And I like, girl, I like this shirt. Where do you get that from? Oh, they ain't got no more. So then I stop asking people, or complimenting women, or that, but that was in my younger day. I'm above that now. But I'm just saying, and I think Satan uses that.
Yeah.
He uses that to, cause discord, or even second guessing ourselves. So
anybody else? That's good. Negative thoughts, offense, fear of not wanting to adjust. Anybody else? That's good. Thank you, Miss Sheila.
I got something.
Oh, go on, Casey.
Okay. So what I would say, and I don't let you know, I don't have the book, but I'm just, following along, and if some come up, I'll share. But with disunity, I think the primary goal from Satan is to cause disunity with God. I think a lot of times our relationships with people, those are important, but I think his goal is to figure out a way to draw you away from your relationship with God. And the primary way I feel like he does that or tries to do that is by causing you to not have trust, and not have faith, which are the two things you have to have in a relationship with anybody, but really in a relationship with God, because it's impossible to please him without faith, and impossible to have a relationship with him without trust, because he, you have to lean on him for your path and your direction and your next step and all that. And, an example of that would be like you praying for something, fast and praying, you landed at the altar, and then you still don't see any movement on there. That will cause you, in your relationship with God, to have the trust and dependency and faith that he will work it out for your good. And you come to my opinion, you come to a crossroad where you have to decide, am I going to operate in a spirit of fear? Am I going to allow this disunity between God and I because I'm, focusing on what I don't have or what God hasn't done for me yet? Or am I going to go the other way and stay on the course of, trusting and believing and having faith in Him and just working towards and continue to walk towards what He has for you? So, as long as, and it's hard, it's easier said than done on this side of heaven to it's easier to not do that. It's easier to stray away from believing when you don't see it right there in front of you. And so I would say that would be one of the weapons he uses, and he starts that with your relationships around you, like you mentioned, I think in Wednesday, trying to isolate you. So you can't have people pouring into you and helping you build up and encouraging you in your faith walk for whatever you're believing in God for. So that's what I can glean from, that particular paragraph.
That's good. Thank you, Casey. That was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Miss Grace, you had something?
I just wanted to throw in that the devil, he'll come in on the back of a mosquito if we let him. Okay, any way he can slither in, he will do that. And I am guilty of having a situation where, I had an offense, I call myself offended by someone, and, and was slick holding a grudge until I had to realize, what God has to constantly remind me ever so often. Grace, it ain't about you, baby. It ain't about you. This has nothing to do with you. It is what I am trying to do through you that you have to, you've got to come to grips now. And then also, I've got to look at, I have to also ask him, okay, Lord, I digress. Let me see this person not from the way Grace sees them, but let me see this person through your eyes. Because in a restaurant, when my order is messed up, then I don't see, in the natural, in my eyes, I see someone who does not seem interested in their job, who cannot comprehend what's going on, that I said, I don't want any ketchup, I don't want any mustard, I want extra onions. But when I look at that same person through the eyes of God, I have to see the mother who has been up with her child all night long and had to come to work anyway because she needed to make ends meet. And she really is about to fall asleep, but she's there because she has to support her family. And then too, I also have to look at the fact that, she could have, she don't want to depend on somebody else, or she don't want to have to go back to those wayward ways that she did early in her life. She trying to make a decent living. So basically, I've got to look at it, as Kenya said, in a different perspective. So I have to ask God, let me see them through your eyes, not through mine. Because see, mine, it gets twisted. And that's, another way that, the devil tries to create that discord, is for me to look at it narrow-minded, about me. How does this affect me? How do I see this as relates to me? But when we look at it and we look at the big picture and we look at it through the eyes of God, we see it in a whole different way. And we have to remind ourselves, it ain't about you, Grace. It really ain't. I know you want to be, yeah, you are important to me, sweetie. And, and you are my child, but I just got to let you remind you that I've got to use you to deliver somebody else. I've got to use you so that somebody else can glean from your testimony.
It's so good. That's good, Miss Grace. I wanted to share this real quick. So this made me think about when I was attending World Overcomers. I had a high school friend. We attended together, and we was in the youth ministry at the time. And she's I don't know. I don't get bothered when people don't see me and speak. Because like I said, I'm like, oh, they probably didn't see me. And then a lot of times people are rushing, but this is in the church, y'all. And this is how the enemy comes into the church. So we was friends with some other people there, and they'll be talking with their crew, just walking. So they looking at each other walking, and me and my friend, we side by side. She see them, they don't see her. We passed them. She could have spoke, but she was like, you see, they didn't speak. They ain't speak. I said, girl, they didn't see you. And even if they did see you, you could speak. Right. So she would be like, no, they don't like me. They don't want to be my friends no more. It really got on my nerves. So I was like, okay, anytime you see them, just speak. Like, just speak. Because now what you allowing the enemy to do is to sow these thoughts like they don't like you no more, blah, blah, blah. So now you not speaking, and they probably speak to you, and now you don't want to speak to them no more. So what does that do? Right. So I told her one day, I said, you're going to have to learn to open your mouth, because if you continue to walk out like this, you're going to be offended based on how you perceive things to be. And y'all, I'm going to be honest. I really think, even if you see, this is my opinion, y'all, if you see somebody and they look at you and y'all looking at each other and y'all both got mouths, one of y'all can speak. Nobody has to speak to you first. But this is a real prevalent thing in the church. And what we don't know is the enemy is operating through little bitty stuff. And then next thing you know, you got believers not speaking to believers. We know different than the world over a hello. Like, we have an honor or a badge we wearing, like, you should speak to me first. Because I can guarantee you, if I was to walk past somebody and I was busy, I would hope they know, like, oh, Kenya, I know Kenya, she wouldn't just, not speak to me or whatever. And then the same thing, if I see you, I'm going to speak. But anyway, I'm not really friends with her anymore. But that was a major thing at World Overcomers. And she not friends with people no more. She didn't take my advice and stuff like that. But it's the little stuff. Just like Miss Grace said, on a mosquito bag. Little bitty stuff can have us thinking the wildest things. And then next thing you know, the enemy has sown division real quick over something small. And the main place he wants to sow it is in the body of Christ. He wants to cut parts off and then get you disconnected and isolated over some little things. And going back to what Ms. Sheila said, your thoughts, all of that goes together. And yeah, it was just crazy. Just the thought that he can use something so small as a hello, a good morning, to have you think, oh, they don't like me no more. Yeah, we not friends no more. And so I don't ever want us to get to that place to where we start coming up with stuff in our minds, because the enemy piggybacks off that. But that's all I got, ladies. Anything else? And we'll do prayer requests, pray, and then close.
If I can add something quickly, I used to be one that got offended really, really bad. And God had to really deal with me about being offended. For those of you who do not know me, I am very competitive. Very, 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 very. So I would get to the point where when I would get offended, I would draw up, and my goal was to always outdo this person, outdo that person. But I went through a point I had to really fast, pray, and just be delivered from the spirit of offense. And one of the things I learned in that, God told me, stop being on defense all the time and stay on offense. Meaning, like you just said, instead of waiting for them to speak to me and walking past and rolling my eyes and all that, hey, Kenya, how you doing? Or hey, Grace, oh, I like that skirt. Oh, give a compliment, say something, whether you mean it or not, smile, give no place to the enemy. And I'm in a place now when if the enemy tries to bring the offense, whether that's it or not, I shake it off, because it was so hard to get out of it. I just go for it anyway. Hey, beautiful, how are you? Regardless of how you look, so just to keep it off of me. So it's a process, but since I know how offended I used to be, just to keep all those doors closed. Hey, how you doing? Whether they speak good, if they don't, fine. Hey, how you doing? And keep rolling.
I remember I had one of those. I think I was speaking to Casey, and I think Casey was so busy, because y'all know Casey's the service captain. I said, hey, Casey. And she walked past. But knowing me and then knowing Casey, I'm like, that girl did not, because it'd be a quick thing. I was like, I know that girl heard me. And yes, in my mental, I said girl, because of course, offense, we had you speaking weird. This is a grown woman now. But I was like, girl, Casey is busy. And so when I went to Casey, I was like, Casey, I said hey to you earlier. She said, oh, girl, I'm sorry, King, I didn't even see you. And I'm like, I knew she didn't see me. Like, you knew she did not see you or whatever. But the offense was gone by then. But I went back and said, hey, Casey, I spoke to you earlier. She said, King, I was just busy. And it'd be like, when you can catch that thought so quick, it's like, what we're not about to do is have Casey up here looking like she wasn't trying to talk to me. That's what we not about to do. Because I love Casey, and I know Casey loved me. But it's those. But I love what you said, Miss Sandra. Even when you don't feel like, girl, give a compliment. Kill them with kindness. Y'all, that will convict people. Like, even if people know they wrong and you being nice, kill them with kindness. That stuff actually works. But shoot, that's for a whole nother meeting, y'all. Shoot. But all right, anybody else? If you have anything else, feel free to share. If not, we're gonna do some prayer requests. If you have prayer requests, you can hop off mute and share those. I'm writing them down.